Hey everyone, it's Greg again. And in this video, we're going to take a deeper look at the concept of loading data using Data Hub Central. We're going to take a look at how you can configure load steps in order to quickly bring data in from source files like CSV and XML and JSON in order to build proof of concepts or do development work. So let's check this out. So the first thing that we're going to do is get logged into Hub Central. And I'm going to log in here as Perry, my MarkLogic developer user. From Hub Central, we can then click on the load icon from the upper right navigation column. This will access the load pane where we can configure various steps to bring data in. The key thing to understand is that in order to bring data into MarkLogic, you can just load it as is. You don't need to do a bunch of upfront data modeling. That's the agile MarkLogic way. Get the data loaded so that it's discoverable and usable, and then iteratively add your model through the process of data curation so that you can shape that data and integrate it exactly how you want it for your services to consume it. So let's start by clicking the Add New button here to create a new loading step. Now, a step processes batches of transactions to do something meaningful to the data. And in our case, we're going to load that data. Specifically, we're going to load the home insurance data and the auto insurance data. Let's start by loading the home insurance data. So let's give this step a name, and I'm going to call it Load Home. We can describe it. In this case, we're loading home insurance data from a source CSV file. In this case, the source of our data is a CSV or delimited text file. So let's set the source format to delimited text. We can then choose from a variety of different separators. In our case, the default separator of a comma is appropriate based on our data. We can then set the target format. That can be, in the case of loading CSV data, something like XML or JSON, some structured hierarchical data type. In our case, let's leave it as JSON. We could then set the source name and type. This can be useful to help us track the provenance and lineage of our data as we load it. So for this, I might set the source name equal to CSV, and let's say that this CSV was exported from home insurance RDBMS, and the source type is RDBMS. That will help us track where this data came from. Next, we can set what we call the URI prefix. Now, a URI is just an identifier that every document that you put into a MarkLogic Data Hub will get assigned. So you can take some control of that identifier and the string that represents it by modeling a prefix here. So for our example, let's just describe each of these documents as being home insurance documents. So I might append the prefix /home/ to each URI to help achieve that goal. Once you've configured this load step as you see here, go ahead and click the Save button. Now that we've configured a load step, we can run this step directly from the load pane. Let's click on the Play button here to run it. And when we are asked to run this, it's going to ask whether or not we want to run this in a new flow or in an existing flow. Because this is a brand new project and we currently do not have any flows, we're going to choose to run this step in a new flow, and we're going to create a new flow. So what is a flow? A flow organizes steps together, and then you can run a flow in sequence. So in our case, all the steps that we're going to be configuring for this project are related to the company that we work for. In this example, Sunrise Insurance. So let's simply call this flow Sunrise. And we can describe this as being a flow to load and curate Sunrise policy data. And let's go ahead and save this new flow. Now we see that we're in the run pane. The run pane allows us to run different steps across our various flows. And we can see that our sunrise flow has been created, and that step that we created called load home is a part of that flow. So from here in the run pane, let's click the play button for the load home step. And then let's browse out onto our file system to the directory that you have downloaded this source data to. You should see a home folder, and from there let's pick the home.csv file and open it. This will automatically trigger the step to run, and when it completes, we'll receive notification right within Hub Central. From here, we can choose to explore the data that we just loaded, or we can close this out and continue loading data. Right now, let's close this out, and let's go back to the load pane, and let's add another step. This time, we're going to create a new loading step in order to load all of that auto insurance customer data. So for this step name, let's call it load auto. And we're going to load auto insurance. And this data is already modeled as JSON. So we're going to load those files that we have unzipped to our file system. So in this step, the source is JSON and the target is also JSON. And optionally, we could specify the source name and type, again, to track provenance and lineage. So I might say that this is auto insurance customer data exported from a CRM system. And so the source type maybe we describe as CRM, and we might describe the URI prefix for this auto data as /auto/. Go ahead and configure your step like you see here, and then click the Save button. We've now created this step for load auto. Let's go here and click the Run button. And just like before, we're going to be asked whether we want to run this in a new or in an existing flow. Let's now choose to run this step in an existing flow, and let's pick that sunrise flow that we just created. When prompted to confirm, let's go ahead and say yes, and then we can go out to our file system to the location where we unzipped our source data, and let's pick all of the auto insurance JSON that we have in that auto folder, and let's go ahead and click open. Our load auto step will run, and when complete, we'll see notification directly in Hub Central. Let's go ahead and close out of that notification, and next, let's explore our data. Let's see what it is that we've just loaded. So using the right-hand navigation column, let's scroll down and let's click the Explore icon. And now we can begin to use and discover our data. When we load data as is, it gets placed into what we call the staging database. So let's select staging here. Now later, as we begin to iteratively add model and curate this data so that we can shape it into a structure that is desired for delivering our services, as part of that curation process, we'll move the curated data into the final database. But for now, to explore the as-is data, let's choose staging and let's choose all data and then click Explore. And here we can see that we have our data available to us. We can see that we can sort through that data and slice it in different and meaningful ways. For example, over here we have facets, and you can see that there is a facet based on a collection name, which is an organizational structure within a data hub like a tag. And we can see that the names of each of our steps, load home and load auto, have been applied to the resulting data that was loaded by that step. So if you wish to only query against home insurance data, you could click on the load home facet, apply it, and now you've limited your results to just those customers with home insurance data in our hub. Alternatively, you could query across all the data in our hub, and you could use the built-in search interface to look at that data. So maybe we want to look for all of our customers who have a first name of Barbara. So I'm going to search here for Barbara, and I can see that I get data across both my home and auto insurance information. And if I look at this example here, for example, I can see that this represents a customer named Barbara Gates. This is a home insurance document that came from that CSV source that we loaded. And I can see that all the property names in the resulting JSON align with the column names where that came from our CSV source. I could go back to my results, and I could see that if I continue to explore this data, I could check out an auto insurance document. And if I look at that here, I can see that this also represents that same customer, Barbara Gates. But this data has a different structure, a different schema, because it came from a different system. That's okay. It can all come into MarkLogic regardless of its original shape or schema. So in this short example, I've shown you how to configure load steps and run those steps through a flow so that you can bring data in as is and then use the built-in Explore capability in Hub Central in order to use and start discovering that data.